Look how great this looks. So that's basically back to original. All right, Mr. Welder, I don't like you, you don't like me, but let's see if we can get this done so we can all go home. Little drop of 99 octane. Yum, 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 yum. So let's give it a go. Okay, let's have a super express tour of the exhaust. I'm going to refurbish this whole system because these are getting quite rare. So what I'm going to do with this is, you can see that bit, I think that was probably originally black. I'm going to spray that with high temperature paint after cleaning that up. I think it was black, it may be, may not be, but it's going to be painted anyway. And this pipe is going to be refurbished, cleaned up and then sprayed with high temperature paint as well. I'll also inspect the hangers. These silencers, I'm not going to do anything to these apart from clean them up, no paint, I'm just going to leave them as they are. Again, we'll inspect this hanger here and clean up this pipe. Leave this one as I'm going to leave the other one. And then this bracket here broke off. This exhaust is actually upside down at the moment. So this bracket is going to be welded back on. And then I'll paint that as well. And with this exhaust, basically, I do like it because it gives the right noise for the car. These were specifically made for the ST170. It's got a larger bore. It's quiet when I'm driving it around normally, and when I'm making progress on a back road, I can hear it, but it's just the right amount of volume, so I don't really like a noisy exhaust. And these are actually getting quite rare because a lot of the time people will change the entire system or they will change the back box. And what they have to do is cut it there because the subframe is normally in the way. I've obviously got the luxury of having my subframe out so I can take it off. But yeah, they are getting very hard to find, and hopefully we're going to get this fully refurbished and get it back on the car, making the right noises, not throwing up any engine management lights or any other fun that you can get. So yeah, that should be good. And also let's get my summertime flowers in as well. So just using some wet and dry paper on the rust. Now I'm going to take through the grade so we can get the shine back on and these little scratches disappear. See, that's literally 5 minutes with a preparation wheel, and that is coming up lovely and shiny, completely smooth. This is really just on the surface. I think what I am going to do though is really get this properly cleaned up so it's back to shiny, and then I'm going to spray it with a very high temperature paint so that it is protected in the future. So that's had a really good go with the preparation wheel. It's all completely sound, and what I'm going to do now is just work my way through the grades of sandpaper. I'm going to start with P240, then P400, P800, P1200, and that should remove all the swirls. And then what I'm going to do is treat these silencers with a very high temperature lacquer just to stabilise that. So reconditioning something like this is a delicate balance. I don't want to go too crazy around the numbers because I want to keep the numbers there. I don't want to sort of sand them off or affect them. And I just want to bring up the shine nicely. The whole thing is stable, so it's going to look very nice. Now I'm going to give it the final buff up with Brasso. I'll continue polishing this and then I'll treat it with very high temperature lacquer. Yeah, I'm lazy. Make a new template. Oh, on metal brackets. I know what you're thinking. Damn, this guy's got an eye for detail. Right, I'm going to take this on. I'm going to wear long sleeves this time because I forgot, and last time I got one hell of a suntan off this welder. Alright, Mr. Welder, I don't like you, you don't like me, but let's see if we can get this done so we can all go home. It's a deal! asshole. What did you say? So I thought I'd go for a new exhaust on the Connect. What do you think? Okay, so the welding on the exhaust has beaten me, so I'm just having a cup of coffee and forgetting about the whole sorry episode. So what I've had to do, the bracket that I was fabricating wasn't good enough, so I've cut it off, ran it back to shiny, and it's gone to a specialist. It's going to have the hanger welded back on the back. Then I'm going to put it back on the car, and then when it's hanging at the right level, when it's back on and it's driving, I'll take it back, and then we'll get the hanger properly made so that the exhaust is sitting at the right level with regard to its mounts. What we're going to do now, I'm going to go get some fuel, and we're going to fill up the car and also take out the spark plugs, put the fogging oil in, and make sure everything's good to go when the time comes to finally turn the key. So here we go, 20 litres of 99 octane. It's £2 a litre here at the moment. So the ST170, it will run on any old horse piss like the E10 stuff, but I'm going to actually run it on E5. I don't like the ethanol content very much, although the car is actually rated. It will run on it, and you know, it'll be fine on it. But I'm going to, as everything's new on this and the tank is clean, I'm going to run it on 99 octane. Hey Focus, want some fuel? Yes please, I'm well parched. All right then, let's get it done. You know, you sound a lot like Mr. Welder. No? Little drop of 99 octane. Yum, 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 yum. Delicious. And expensive. That's a good sign. Nothing on the floor. Lovely. Okay, there we go, all done. What I've got to do now is just put the battery back on, turn the ignition on, and check that the fuel gauge is giving me a reading, so that will check the sender unit's working. Also, when I do that, I need to listen to hear if the fuel pump is priming itself, so I should hear that for a few seconds. Then I know that's all working. Right, the battery's on. I've got 20 litres of fuel in the car. What I'm going to do is just turn the key, turn the ignition on. I'm looking to see the gauge move, the fuel gauge, and I'm also listening to hear the fuel pump purge itself, then I know that everything's still working. So let's give it a go. Yeah. So we've got the gauge coming up there, and I can hear the fuel pump running now. It's obviously pressurising the system. There we go, finished. So we know that's all working. Battery back off, and let's have a look at those cylinders. So today we're going to be examining this using a bore scope. So that's the HT leads out. I'm just going to show you something before I take the spark plugs out. So what we've got here, I will show you with the bore scope. Number 2 is actually filling up with oil there, and what that is, that's the rocker cover gasket leaking. The others are okay. So what you can get is oil builds up in there and it causes arcing and you get a misfire. So that needs to be addressed when we put it all back together. So I need to remove that collected oil, clean the top, vacuum the holes, and then we can take the plugs out. Right, so that's the spark plugs out. As you can see, the engine seems to be in good order. It seems to be burning okay. So we've got light grey tips there, no damage, no soot, no oil. The only oil that's on it is coming in from where the rocker cover gasket is leaking, so we'll have to definitely change that gasket. Okay, let's have a quick look in the cylinders. So this car's got 130,000 miles. I'm not looking for perfection, I'm just looking for signs that something's obviously wrong, but by the condition of the spark plugs, I'd say we were good. So let's have a look inside them and see what we can see. There we go, I'm happy with that. That's what I would expect to see on a 20-year-old car with 130,000 miles. Got number 4 is a little bit more suited than the others, but it's well within tolerance and well within what I would expect to see there. I do know this car has had regular oil changes and it has been well looked after. I did have the sump off to change it, and it was all clean in there, so I wasn't expecting any problems with this. So let's get the fogging oil in the cylinders, turn the engine over a few revolutions by hand, and make sure they're well looked after for our first start. So under the 2 nuts down here, take the plastic cover off so we can get a wrench in there to turn the engine over by hand. Spray the fogging oil into each cylinder. Now turn the engine over several revolutions clockwise to make sure that oil has got to all the cylinder walls and everywhere that it needs to be. And then put the plugs back in, and of course we're going to change this rocker cover gasket, and it's going to have a precautionary oil change and oil filter change before we drive it on the road. And a bit of anti-seize grease on the spark plug thread before we put them back in, and just put them in very delicately, do them up until we're absolutely sure they've got the thread. So just with the fingers, yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Donk. I put this back on just to keep it safe, but I am going to be changing the rocker cover gasket before we start the car. Right, it's time to get the heat shields back on the car, so I'm trying something revolutionary with this. I'm trying doing it in the right order. Perfect. So that's the first bit back on, so that was the original hole there, and if you remember we put the bolt through the fuel tank strap, so we can now do these up just with these nuts and bolts and get a really good secure fit there. And I've also put a nut and bolt on this side as well. There's a little piece I've just noticed in the tunnel as well, so that's come off slightly, so I'm going to unscrew that, take that off, and then make another disc for the top of that, and that will cure that problem. Yeah, if you see here on the rear section, I need to make 5 more discs there because these have worn through, so I don't want any rattles. I need this to be secure, so I'm going to have to find some metal and cut some more circles out. God bless the rubbish can. Ta-da! Looking good. That's it, just make a couple more for the sides here, and then we can go and pick up the exhaust from the fabricators where it was having its new hanger made, and then after that we can finally get the subframe back on again. The spare wheel is back. Welcome aboard. So it's all secured down. The original jack to this car has been lost, but what I'm going to do is get a bottle jack and just secure it under there. I just find them much more easy to use than the manufacturer supplied stuff. Also this tyre here, this is 20 years old. This is like a sort of classic tyre now. I normally change my tyres maximum every 4 years because they just start to break down. Obviously I won't be driving on this one, so when I get all 4 replaced on the car, I'll also get this one done too. Look who's back with its new bracket as well, looking really good. Put a bit of weld down there just to strengthen that one up. What I'm going to do now is just work through it, get the back prepared, and then just sparkle everything else up, put the lacquer on. Then this will be going back on the car, it'll be connected, and then I'm going to drive it back to the place, and when it's hanging we're going to make the bracket on there so it sits all at the right level. These are such good quality, that's proper stainless steel there. So how we're going to do this, this is going to be back to black. Obviously the tip won't be, this will be black. I am going to do these pipes black because they clean up very well, but they aren't good enough to put lacquer on and leave as they are. So this is going to be high temperature painted black as well. These will be done in a lacquer. I'm not happy with painting these completely black, so these will be lacquered. Hangers will be black, this pipe will be black, that will be lacquered, and then we'll do this black as well. Let's get you tucked up, nice and safe. Right, I've got that wrapped up. We're going to do this in stages, like two budget supermarkets standing next to each other, little by little. So we're going to spray that bit, and then I'm going to roll it over, just doing the back bit. I'm going to spray the other side while it's still resting on the wood. Alright, so the can says 3 coats, 5 minutes apart, so let's crack on with it. God, stinks. It smells reassuringly toxic, so I'm just going to get a mask. So this car won't see rain again, but I know that this should be fairly well protected from whatever might be on the road. Turn him over. Yeah. Careful. Lovely. So if you're wondering how long this will last, like and subscribe and I'll let you know. This is the second coat going on. Okay, here we go, got the final touches. We're going to put the extremely high temperature lacquer on the silencers. So how I've had to do this is prop it up to make sure that I can get to the whole silencer in one go, because you have to put 3 coats on, they have to be touch dry in between coats, and once you've done 3 coats it then has to cure for an hour. You can't then put extra coats on it, otherwise what will happen is it sort of ruins the curing process and it might end up cracking. So we're going to do it like that and see what happens. There we go, lacquer on. I did roll it over in between the second and the third coats just to really ensure that we had proper coverage there, but that's gone on beautifully. We're just going to let it dry now and then we'll get this back on the car. Okay, so I'm going to push the exhaust back through. So we've got a piece of wire there onto its mounting rubbers that's going to support the front of it until we can get the bracket made and connect up that flexible section. Obviously once we change it, because I had to saw it off. There's the tension coming here, I don't want to scratch it. No! Go on then, my awkward friend. Let's see how we're going to do this. Excessive difficulty. I'm sure of that. God, bloody hell. Ah, okay, that's alright. So the ridge in the driveway is working to my advantage. It's all under control. Go on, you bastard. Go on, you bastard. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So let's get the rear exhaust hanger in. Twist it the right way. And it is the hottest day of the year today, so good for the lacquer, not good for the person fitting the exhaust. God, there we go. Yeah, what I needed for this was a bit of silicone spray, but of course I haven't got any. He's back, and since last time we've been doing some training. Watch this. There we go. Really well trained, gone on there beautifully, so that is looking fantastic. I'm so happy with that. Alright, it's time. Go. Bumper back on. I just love the original exhaust tips on these cars. It just really suits me well. I really like that. Looks super cool. There we go, a bit more progress on the ST170. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So what we're going to do moving forward is I've got a lot of the suspension components coming down in the post now. So I've got the shocks, the springs, various other bits and bobs. I'm going to put the back of the car properly back together, you know, sort of wheels and all. Then I'm going to lower it onto the ground. Then I'm going to jack up the front because I need to start messing around with the timing on it basically. So P1381, P1383 timing codes, which basically means that the VVT pulley is sort of out of sync, so we're going to do that. But in order to do that I need to jack it up, get my hand sort of behind the engine and putting the timing pin so that it's set at TDC, but I'm not going to fiddle around with that when the back's all undone. So we'll get the back together and then we're going to get that sorted. So that might be a separate video because it's quite a fiddly job, and a lot of people are asking about it, so I might just do a sort of separate video on that. Also, the problem that I'm having at the moment is all of this is shot on an iPhone, and it's basically running out of memory. It's getting very difficult to edit and to sort of make these videos, because when you film stuff, there's like hours and hours of kind of uncut stuff, and it's clogging it up, and I'm just having a problem making them with the iPhone because it's full basically. So what I need to do is sort out a laptop, and we're going to start moving over to GoPros probably soon, so I need to sort of sort all that out. Probably not for the next episode. I'll probably do the timing episode, getting it back together, getting it running. We need to take it for an MOT, get the welding done, so I'll probably do all of that. So that's probably another 2 episodes on the iPhone, and then when we take it for a drive, I'll sort out the proper gear and we'll sort of step it up a bit there. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much for watching. I really enjoy making these. You know, you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. I hope they're of use to you guys, sort of sorting your cars out, and always happy to hear feedback. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Cheers.